Hey mates, it's me Rizz, doing another reaction on the channel again. Before I get started, I'd just like to say Merry Christmas to everyone. Wanted to at least say that verbally this year. And, well, this year I'm just wanting a much more calmer Christmas, so I wasn't going overboard with any Christmas stuff this year, though I did make a little bit of effort here and there for some Christmas related stuff at home. But no, nothing too fancy for the channel for Christmas. I was pretty much slogging through the relationship between Australia and the UK, which took longer than expected because of other stuff. But now now for the next year, I want to focus on some other videos that I am generally interested in, and I was generally interested in all the other videos I've done. Just the certain topic of relationship between Australia and other countries, I'm putting that on bench for the time being. So yeah, a little bit of a small rant update thing. But anyway, let's get on to the reaction. So the reaction I'm doing is the Prohibition by Oversimplified. I think might just be referring to the American Prohibition because it had the thumbnail of Al Capone and such. But Prohibition was not just an American thing. It also happened in, I think, maybe in other parts of Europe, and there was this whole movement between the wets and the dries. The wets being saying yes to alcohol, and the dries saying a ban of alcohol or a reduction of alcohol use, and the wets being, the other side. I think that's what they're called, but they may refer to this here on the video. Now, you're probably wondering, did Australia had prohibition? No, but there was one part of it during this time when the whole movement between the wets and the dries, that there was something involving the banning of licenses of alcohol in the capital, which then there was some criminality involving some certain Australians selling alcohol to the capital illegally that came from Lithgow or something. Yeah, just when I heard Lithgow, it got me interested in seeing what this whole thing was going on. But anyway, I've ranted enough about that. Let's get on to the reaction. Alright, here we go. As you know how I do my reactions, I pause whenever there's something coming up. I give my thoughts, historical thoughts, some questions that I'm generally curious about and wanting knowing the answer, which you've people who have written answers in the comment section below. I always read them, as long as they're not that long, because there was one who did a huge list of the resistant fighters back in one of the World War II Oversimplified episodes on all the resistant fighters. That was a long read, but yeah, this is gonna be a good one because I know this is probably Prohibition for the US, but I'm thinking this could be worldwide. But let's see.
Good morning, honey. What's for breakfast? The usual. 2 caskets of rum, a mug of hard cider,
What?
and a full bottle of wine. Oh boy! Oh, I'm running late. I'll have to take it with me. Don't forget your lunch. It's a 6-pack of beer, a flask of whiskey, 6 shots of tequila, and as a special treat, a banana. Ah, gee
This guy
whiz,
should.
I'm gonna be smashed today.
This guy would be dead. He wouldn't be even moving. What the? Can anyone even drink this much beer in one go? In fact, you shouldn't mix up. You shouldn't drink another. You shouldn't drink any other product. Oh my goodness. This. All right. First question: would you likely die with this amount of alcohol in your system? In fact, this amount of variety of alcohol in your system, because, geez, you don't mix different drinks because it kind of fucks up the system. Now, alright.
Enjoy your day of operating.
I just realized that having banana with any beverage does not taste that well.
Sharp, dangerous farm equipment. I can't believe this is an acceptable way to live.
Wait.
God bless America.
Oh my goodness. Do they have like a wine cellar or something, or basement that they keep all the alcohol cold or something? Just that's the thing that I'm wondering. What was the point of having a basement in building in American homes? I was assuming that basements they kept like they stored its stuff to keep stuff cold, like either storage or kept like a small wine cellar or place to keep things cold. At least until refrigeration became a thing. That's why you don't see many basements or cellars in Australia, because about a couple decades after like some buildings, they kind of had their own storage area that was cold. Like I've been to one place in the rocks, there was like a cellar type thing, but it was its own separate door. Like you had to walk down. Yeah, it was outside. You had to walk down like an outside door thing. You go down, you unlock the key, and yeah, it was more of a storage place. And though you could technically make it as a wine cellar, but with the amount of. But anyway, let's go.
Okay,
finish.
gotta go.
Is that an oven?
I love my life!
The fuck? Alright, we got Al Capone and a policeman. Maybe this is one of Al Capone's policemen, because I think I remember that he gave badges to crooked policemen to be his enforcers. Also, side fact about another thing, I would recommend there was a movie about Nitty the Enforcer, and it's a kind of a really good faithful movie. Like it's not something you would watch, like not that something you would say a masterpiece, but it's a really nice movie that does a contextual video, good for I'd say just a nice good movie about like what's happening in the history of through forget it, but damn, Oversimplified is getting that the animation is getting better every year.
America, the land of beautiful strip malls.
Okay, some couple of years ago, the place in East Lakes had something similar to this, except not this brickwork. It was more, I think it was red brick. It was, I think the term would be called red bricks, not this brick. It was more orange red brick that it had all the crumpled bit on the side, but afterwards they teared it down and started they're building a huge shopping mall kind of thing. Probably another Westfield, or it's basically an extension to the shopping mall they have in that place, the East Lake Shopping Center. Small place, but a good place to get stuff, general stuff. You know, Woolies and Aldi's, and some place like meat, fish. Actually, in fact, I think I actually stopped. Actually, I heard funny enough, during even a place like that small, people are rushing at the fish area, just getting all the shrimp and stuff. In fact, that's kind of a thing with stuff like Easter and Christmas. People are rushing just to get fish and stuff. But anyway, continue.
Top class infrastructure.
Where is this image? Actually, come from the previous image, and what is this? Is this somewhere in California? Or Chicago, maybe? I mean, they're still building up the telephone communication area here. Anyway, let's go.
And wonderful urban sprawl.
What the fuck? Why do they have so many cul-de-sacs? How the Jeez, this is why America needed the GPS. Look at it. They needed... Fuck. Yeah, this is why they need GPS. There's no such thing as a back road here. Yeah, in Sydney we don't have that many cul-de-sacs, like these little bits that stop here, and you could literally take a lot of back roads and get to where you go. Like seriously, sometimes by taking the back roads, you could get when it comes to either choosing the M5 highway or the back roads. Sometimes the back roads are much quicker because the M5 has a lot of traffic, like conjecture and stuff. But yeah.
Roll. Ah, yes. Beautiful America. But what's the most American thing you can think of?
Huh. The quantity of meat and soda. The right to do anything they want so long it doesn't commit crimes. Complain all the time because they have the right to vote. It's like a. Give me some time, I'll have a list. Freedom of speech for now. Anyway,
The Statue of Liberty? Mount Rushmore? A crazy lady in a mobility scooter yelling at a pigeon?
why does this sound like the. Can someone give me more context to this?
Well, what if I told you the answer is alcohol?
I'm gonna assume this is that they had a vast quantity amount of alcohol, like they had like a lot of alcohol. But then again, the UK, Germany, and Australia are known for alcohol, but Germany more specifically with beer. Australia is more like an all-rounder. When a lot of Europeans came, a lot of them brought their own different types and makings of beer, um, and also other stuff like beer, wine, whiskey, and such. But I think that counteracts with the variety of alcoholic beverages, and also there was the variety of different types of coffee. Seriously, there's a reason why Starbucks never there's a reason why Starbucks never caught on in Australia as much because all the small businesses they had basically the better coffee or the better beer.
That's right. When the Puritans arrived on America's shores, they brought a ship packed with beer. George Washington provided his men with a daily cup of whiskey.
Seriously? Now, a lot of Europeans they did drink alcohol, but back in the Middle Ages, alcohol was a daily thing that they consumed, but it was a lot weaker. Um, Based on historical facts, it was much weaker, though not sure about the quality of it. Though I would like to know what would be the least quality of it. But I think it had to do with the processing of how they made alcohol, and once when this age caught up, the alcohol got a lot better. They could make put more alcohol in the beverages. And why is that goat? What is up with this goat thing? Is this from some college image or something? Anyway.
Andrew Jackson's inauguration party left the White House so trashed that everybody had to be ordered outside. Frederick Douglass said whiskey made him feel like a president. Me too, Frederick. Me too. Americans drink at breakfast. Doctors prescribe their patients hard liquor. In the 19th
Well, technically, whiskey is a great way to kill diseases. Well, based on that knowledge, but Irish whiskey. I'm reading Irish whiskey, and also look at that. The doctor has like the fucking brewery here. Just imagine like a doctor. I could just imagine like a doctor place would be right on the same street corner to a bar.
19th century, Americans drank 3 times as much as their modern-day counterparts.
Okay, I'm looking this up. What would? Okay. 7 gallons to a liter is 26.498 liters. So we're gonna Australian. How much al how much pure alcohol do they drink? Let's see. Let's see, in Australia, Canada, you could count yada yada. Who drinks the most alcohol in Australia? 18 to 24 years generally drink more standard alcohol on a single use. Yada yada. How much per? Okay, forgot to say per year. Drink per year. Now, granted, a lot of us don't drink as much, and oh, here we go. So, also 18 or plus, we don't. So about 9.51 liters of pure alcohol. So essentially, these 19th century Americans literally drank almost 3 times the amount of pure alcohol Australians do today. So basically, this thing adds up to both. So, Americans and Australians drink more or less the same alcohol today than this. Okay, so yeah, this is a good estimate. So good job.
That's a lot of whiskey. Hey Jerry, how's that report coming along? Already done, sir. I've also organized your paperwork, watered your flowers, and been a father figure to your children. Wait a minute.
Hold on. Isn't that the painting from Mr. Bean, but with a wine on it? Yeah, I know, that's...
What's that smell? Have you been drinking at work? No, sir, I would never. Well, why not? Everyone else is doing it.
Oh my gosh! They got a distiller, or something, or like a beer making. I don't think... What the fuck?
But I got all my work done. You're fired!
I don't think... Was that a thing? No?
Americans drink at work. They drink at barn raisins.
I don't think that was a... I don't think that's a problem.
Baptisms.
And now we know why there is wine in the church.
And public hangings.
Oh my god! Actually... Yeah, I'm pretty sure people would have drank during hangings.
Heavy drinking was so normal that it was as American as apple pie.
Wow. Huh. The number of drunks is too damn high. I don't often drink, but when I do, it ruins lives.
Hi everyone, my name's Ron, and I'm an alcoholic. Get over yourself, Ron. We're all alcoholics. But more and more Americans began to
What was that? What was that? Alcoholic Anonymous?
wonder whether all of this truly was a normal way to live. Were Americans drinking, perhaps, a little too much? Well, one
Guys,
group
it's
in
8 a.m.
particular thought the answer to that was yes. You know him, you love him.
Sorry about that. I had to transition to get rid of the ad. And... yeah, continue.
Were Americans
Maybe he's born with it, maybe it's whiskey.
drinking, perhaps, a little too much? Well, one group in particular thought the answer to that was yes. You know him, you love him. Woman. Oh crap, woman! Wrong! Hang on. We just want to talk. Woman talking. That's great. Come on, Fred.
Wait a minute. I know I've seen... I'm trying to figure out what the character of this one is. You could say mad scientist, but damn, there's a character to it.
You've got 2 kids and a wife at home, yet here you are spending your entire paycheck on booze. And you, Dr. Spanky,
Yeah.
you're on the cusp of discovering time travel. But what did you discover instead? The sweet, sweet joys of whiskey. That's right. Alcohol. It's destroying our families, our jobs, and our homes. She's right. She's right. Hang on, men. Don't let them get to you. This saloon is our safe space where our wives and children can't annoy us with reality, where we're free to be real men. She's right. She's right. I am a man. And what does it real men do? Take care of their families. I don't know what she's talking about. Do you take care of your family? No. We drink beer, we shoot guns, and we mud wrestle. As America's heavy drinking ruined more and more lives, moral resistance began to arise, and women were at the forefront.
Huh. No, I'm just thinking, like, the word morality Wait, what did he say?
ruined more and more lives. Moral resistance began to.
Huh. America had more resistance. Interesting. I just never heard the word moral resistance. It's just first time I've heard the two words together. I don't know why. It just makes. I'm just thinking of a scenario with that, but I can't. Anyway.
Rise, and women were at the forefront, taking matters into their own hands at a time when women doing just about anything was shocking. They'd had enough of being victim to their husband's heavy drinking, and they were going to do something unprecedented. You're going to what? I'm going to protest. Oh, sweetie, women can't protest.
It just the mouths look like those blowjob mouths. I'm sorry, but it looks like it. I know it's the shock look, but he's gonna faint.
Starting in Ohio, before spreading nationwide, women began a crusade against alcohol. They marched through towns and cities, singing hymns, gathering outside saloons, and praying on their knees. Women praying was so terrifying that in some towns, schools were shut and business stagnated. On one occasion, firemen were called out to hose down the dangerous praying women. On another, the owner of a beer garden reportedly held a woman outside and threatened to reduce the savage woman to dust.
Oh my god. Man, could you imagine? Man, you could. Wow, 19th century was a wild time.
Nevertheless,
actually, come to think of it, America is still wild, but it's. Then again, America is still a wild place.
They persisted. They formed the WCTU in 1874, and they organized. They set up homes for inebriate women. They installed water fountains in public parks.
Ah, forget it.
They wrote textbooks for school children that contained some.
Young people, Department of Scientific Instructions of the Women's National Christian Temperance Union. Oh, here we go. The temperance movement. This is gonna be copyrighted 1884 and 1885. I think we're good on this. A.S. Okay.
Interesting claims about drinking alcohol.
Oh,
Here's
really?
little Timmy. Uh-oh. Looks like Timmy's gonna have his first drink. He's taking a small sip of whiskey, and Timmy has spontaneously combusted.
Did that actually happen? Like an actual storybook had such a thing like this? I mean, then again, there was propaganda of just a little couple decades later, there would be some very nasty propaganda on certain selective races. So, this seems to be nothing out of the ordinary. That is a cute dog.
The end. The women's efforts weren't in vain. In small towns across America, drugstores agreed to stop fulfilling prescriptions for alcohol. Men committed themselves to giving up drink. Inspired by the women's moral fervor, some saloon owners closed their doors. The Women's Crusade and other temperance movements were forcing people to reconsider alcohol's role in society, and more people began to side with the growing temperance.
Boo to booze, drink milk.
Movement. Many states had even begun enacting their own dry laws that restricted
State with some form of dry laws before national prohibition. Oh, heck, even Texas did that as well. Yeah. Look at that. Yeah, Calf. Let's see. You know what? This will take too long if I try to name the states, but now today, well, in Australia, now it's kind of known that drinking, there's some form of limitation of drinking, or like you don't go out to drink too much in public, but you can get smashed at home or get pissed at home, whatever phrase that keeps changing every couple of years.
The sale and use of alcohol. One of them was Kansas, where alcohol had been outlawed since 1881. Despite this, many illegal saloons remained open.
That's the thing. Despite morality, there will always be... Here's the thing. It's in general, there's always a supply and demand for such for beer and such. Like any product, there's always a supply and demand, and whether people do it illegally or not, that is up to what happens based on the laws that are enacted in either the state or the country or in a country. And I think with alcohol there should be some awareness, like learn people on moderation in general, just moderation in all things, like in food, um, work, how much you're working, how much you're drinking, how much you're playing, how much free time you have, and how that determines is how much you learn with based on what you perceive on what's too much of a good thing. And that's why we make certain holidays where people go nuts on overindulging. So yeah, I'm gonna be, you know me, I keep ranting stuff like this. So
And authorities had done just about nothing to stop them. One woman, disgusted by what she saw, decided she would take the law into her own hands. And not just any woman, a terrifying, hatchet-wielding, sweet old lady named Carrie Nation. Armed with her trusty hatchet and a bag of what she called smashers, she traveled from town to town visiting saloons. But she wasn't there to get smashed. She was there to smash. The men could do nothing but cower as sweet little Carrie hulked out and tore the place to shreds. She went to Kiowa and smashy smashed. Wichita, smashy smash.
Oh,
Topeka,
wait, back
She went
up.
to
I want
Kiowa
to
and
see it.
smashy
I saw
smash. Wichita,
saw got malt liquor. Oh my gosh, look at it. Just look at this quality. They put so many inside jokes. I can't believe I drank the whole thing. Taste the rainbow. Wait, I think this is a Care Bear. Is this a Care Bear reference? Or no, it's another reference to something, but I can't remember. But I'm thinking. Ah,
smash. Topeka, smashy
Crunk, drink different, apple cider.
smash. On a couple of occasions, she was arrested, but each time they were like, "Okay, Carrie, we're gonna let you go so long as you promise to be a good girl and not smash up any more saloons. Okay? Screw you, pig!" Yeah, I think she's gonna be all right. Smash, smash.
Oh gosh!
Carrie's tactics shocked the other members of the Women's Christian Temperance Union, but she assured them, and this is a quote, "Ladies, you do not know how much joy you will have until you smash, smash, smash."
Why do you think many of, you just realize that smashing shit is actually pretty fun if you think about it. I mean, she just she wasn't a monster. She was just the head of the curve because smashing stuff is kind of fun. Why do you think men smash stuff? Because it's fun. And people think that smashing is, what, unladylike, but I don't know. I've heard women, if they can, they would love to smash, just like how they smash relationships. Okay, that was... Anyway, I'm
Carrie
continuing.
became a household name, and she hoped her unusual tactics would spread across the country. But unfortunately, many of the women's movements eventually slowed down. Why? Well, because of this kind of thing. Thelma, I ripped my pants again. Ugh, well, you'll have to sew them yourself because I'm going out protesting. What? I don't know how to sew. What if I burn the house down and get eaten by alligators?
Actually... Okay, I'm not that... straight. Man, that is a giant needle. Man. Yeah, I've only assisted in doing needle and thread. Because I have really good eyes on putting the thread in, but... Actually... I don't know why, but... My mum taught me once on if ever there was... If you had like, the little rope thing that goes around the pants, what you do is that if you pull it out, get a safety pin it on the end of the rope thing. I don't know what it's, rope or thread rope. I don't know. You just and then you try and put it in to the end, and then you shuffle it like you scrunch it in, and then you pull out the safety pin with the rope on the side, and then you keep doing it, which is heavy intensive, believe me, and then you pull it out on the other end. I don't know why I'm rambling about this bit, but it just saved. I just did it. This was done recently, and I'm just thinking about it now.
Don't be stupid, Mitch. Look, I've gotta go. Call me stupid? She's the one who's stupid.
Oh! Oh!
Hey, Thelma! Look who's stupid now!
Hey, did you see
While
that
the women were out
transition?
protesting. There was nobody to do the cooking and cleaning and being seen and not heard, and they gradually had to return to their duties at home. But where the women had got the ball rolling, a new movement was about to take that
Temperance
ball
movement?
all the way to Washington, D.C. I'm talking about the Anti-Saloon
Oh.
League. The Anti-Saloon League was a political pressure group run by a very sweet-looking old man. But
No.
don't let that deceive.
No. I think I've heard this guy before. I think he was the guy that was very violent on getting his way. Or that could have been one of his subordinates. Anyway,
This guy was an evil genius. While the
Yeah.
women's movements were interested in a whole range of issues, Wayne Wheeler and the Anti-Saloon League only cared about enemy number one, Mr. Alcohol.
Mr. Alcohol. I see what they did there. Miss.
And as a result, they were extremely effective. They were able to exploit the fears of the American people.
Yeah.
And I mean everyone's fears. Here's how they did it.
Yeah.
Hello, sir. Welcome to the...
But wait. If I remember, there was another person who essentially said on the lines of, "Hey, you help us, and we'll get you into your seat you'll get into office." Or maybe that was for politicians, but not for the average citizen.
Liberal Progressive Rally. Why don't you introduce yourself? Well, I'm Patty, and I'm an immigrant from Ireland. And tell me, Patty, do you drink? Oh yes, I drink a lot. See, folks, people like Patty come here looking for a better life, only to end up drunk in the gutter. Don't worry, sir. We're gonna help you. Hey man, you're doing great. I just need you for one more thing. Hey, Christian conservatives. This is Patty. He's a dirty Catholic Irish immigrant who's come to destroy America with his alcohol-fueled debauchery! Workers were told alcohol
Oh
was a
my god!
capitalist ploy to
It's the
keep them
Monopoly
subject-
Man! It's the
Workers
Man, that is a really good... Oh my god. The iconic, oversimplified Monopoly Man.
were told
Wait, is that a horse and carriage or just motor vehicles?
alcohol was a capitalist ploy to keep them subjugated. Factory owners were told alcohol was making their irresponsible workers lazy. The black community was warned alcohol was hindering its progress, while racists were warned alcohol would turn black men into brutes. In one of the most confusing
Wow.
eras of American politics, totally opposing groups found themselves agreeing on at least one thing. Alcohol was bad.
Seriously. You don't know how funny it is when you see many people who are so divided and they agree on one thing. It's kind of weird that we agree on these things, yet we still hate each other. It's this weird cultural misunderstanding with different groups, and this is why I think maybe... You know what, I can't think about this right now.
The anti-Saloon
already
also
made-
made great use.
I've seen that. Yeah, I've seen this poster. I had a great laugh on this. It was so fun. I saw this photo once and I was laughing like an idiot when I was looking up just like propaganda posters, and this was one of... This came up once.
Use of propaganda. Something
Wet or
prohibitionists
dry,
have been
there
doing
it
for
is. Here we go.
decades. Take this specimen, for example, that warns what will happen to you
Seen
if you
it.
start drinking. Let's see. First, you take a drink. You get a little rowdy. Okay. You make some new friends. Nice. Then you become homeless. You turn to crime. And...
Oh!
Oh. But the
Oh.
most effective tactic Wheeler used to force prohibition on America was pressure politics.
There-
In any
okay,
election
it
he
was
could,
him
Wheeler very
did the
successfully rounded up support against any politician who was in favor of alcohol. In Ohio alone, he had 70 state representatives and the popular Republican governor ousted from office and replaced with prohibitionists. Suddenly, every politician in America was afraid of Wayne Wheeler. Even those who enjoyed alcohol in private began pretending to be against it in public. Alcohol is delicious. Malicious. Sorry, Wayne. I'm really drunk right now. Then it really hit the fan in 1917, when America found itself fighting in the First World War against Germany. Anti-German sentiment exploded. Sauerkraut became Liberty cabbage. German measles became Liberty measles. And Dachshunds became the embodiment of evil. See, America? You've always been this way. The biggest brewers in America were German, and Wheeler saw to it that drinking alcohol became akin to pro-German treason. The German brewers desperately tried to fight back, creating their own propaganda, presenting beer as a healthy beverage, one that you could even give to your kids. As you can imagine, it didn't go down well. President Wilson instituted some temporary wartime prohibition measures to save grain for food, and with many in the country now in support of prohibition, all that was left was to make it law. One problem was that taxes on alcohol made up nearly 40% of the US government's annual revenue.
Wow. Always follow the money, people. It's always money that gets in the way of stuff like this.
And the government wasn't just about to give that up.
Yeah.
No problem. The Anti-Saloon League helped lobby for the creation of a new income tax on the American people. And just like that, the government was no longer reliant on alcohol. Prohibition was finally introduced to Congress in 1913, not just as a law, but a constitutional amendment. In 1917, as the House held their...
Sorry, 18th Amendment. It's just funny that the legal drinking age for Australians is 18, while America's amendment for the legal drinking age is 21. I'm like...
The final vote on the Prohibition Amendment,
Wheeler
was watching from the gallery. You spineless cowards. I know half of you drink, yet here you are bowing down to Ned Flanders up there. Look at him, like he's some kind of Caesar. Ugh, don't be so dramatic. I obviously don't think I'm Caesar. Now release the lion. In the end, Prohibition passed the House easily, 282 votes to 128, and the states ratified the new amendment by 1919. America, a nation obsessed with liberty and freedom, had just voluntarily given up its private right to choose whether or not to drink alcohol. We did it, folks. We fixed everything. America will be perfect forever. But you just dissolved America's 5th largest industry and lost tens of thousands of jobs for us immigrants. No, you idiot. You don't get it. We helped you, idiot. Ugh, I could really go for a beer. Oh, no. Immediately after Prohibition went into effect, alcohol consumption in America decreased as Americans followed the law and tried not drinking. Man, if we're gonna be law-abiding good boys, we need something else to fill the dark, lonely void that delicious beer once did. Well, how about we crack open a nice cold can of water? Hell yeah, toss it over.
Right, this was before soda became big in America. Oh, no, like the invention of soda was not yet common. They kind of were around they kind of were sprouting, but not the giant, how big it was in what was it back? As big as Coca-Cola. Anyway, continue.
Nah, this isn't doing it for me. Let's try knitting. This isn't filling the dark void at all. Wanna fly some kites? Ah, screw it. Let's go get some illegal beer. While it seemed like many Americans supported Prohibition, after the law went into effect, it seemed like just as many Americans intended to keep on drinking, and they would go on to find a variety of ways to break the new law. Here's a question for you. Do you like breaking the law? Well, shame on you. Or do you like saving money when you shop online? Then you should use honey.
Oh,
Do you
response.
Gold honey, rest of you licks. Join, thank you. And now where were we? Oh yeah.
Okay, I think at least when about, you know what? Actually, I'm not gonna think about this one. It might be
Punching
too
pattern,
dark.
passing Prohibition, and procuring pints. Pretty soon after the new law went into effect, the failures of Prohibition were already beginning to rear their ugly heads.
What
For
is that?
starters, the details of the new Prohibition law, written by none other than Wayne Miller himself, turned out to be more draconian than expected.
Wait,
Many
what?
Prohibition supporters only wanted to outlaw hard liquor and hoped beer would remain legal, but the Volstead Act outlawed anything over 0.5%. That would make Liberty cabbage illegal. Secondly, the
Oh. Actually, you know what? I think that there should have been. You know what? I think many of them at the time thought that maybe the reduction on how much alcohol was in the alcohol beverage. I think many of them just wanted beer to be less alcoholic and not feel all too drunk. They just want to have like a little buzz and not kind of. I think a lot of them had the same thought. If not one of the thoughts they might have thought when they wanted to not be for this whole prohibition thing. I think they just wanted the alcohol to be not as strong. But when they saw that it was a huge ban of everything, like anything that was not even the not so hard stuff, I think it just backfired. Anyway, let's
The
continue.
new law was full of loopholes that Americans very quickly began to exploit.
The common American citizen breaking the law. I don't know what. Wait, not breaking the law. The loopholes. Oh, forget it. Damn it! It's hot. Sorry, it's just really hot in here. Every time I'm in recording, it's always hot. It's a fucking. Jeez, it's always. Not once have I recorded. I can't record when it's raining because you get to hear the rain, and the only time now we're in summer, or I think it's summer at least. But it's always hot, and these recordings they continue.
For example, while the sale and manufacture of liquor was illegal, drinking it wasn't. And you could also keep any alcohol you had before the law went into effect.
Wow. Yep.
So many private clubs hoarded huge amounts of alcohol and saw them through the entire Prohibition
They
period.
must have done it
Whiskey
all.
intended for medicinal purposes was also allowed, and doctors basically became bartenders. It
Wow.
looked as though a full-on epidemic
Oh my god. So basically the saloon just moved into the doctor's office.
had broken out, as there was a sudden surge in prescriptions for whiskey. Sacramental wines used by churches and synagogues were also permitted. Orders for communion wine suspiciously skyrocketed by millions of gallons. And as rabbis had access to religious wine, suddenly everyone was becoming a rabbi. You had Rabbi Pat O'Leary, Rabbi LL Cool J, Rabbi Fluffy. But don't worry,
Aw.
I'm sure all these definitely legitimate religious figures couldn't possibly be selling wine in the back alley after Mass. Yep, definitely nothing strange going on here. New products also hit the shelves in stores, such as Vine Glow, a brick of dehydrated grape juice, itself not alcoholic, and therefore perfectly legal. But the packaging did contain a strangely specific warning. After dissolving the brick in a gallon of water, do not place the liquid in a jug in the cupboard for 20 days, because then it would turn into wine. I'll take 1,000. Yes, sir. Now, at this point, I want you to think back for me, if you will, to the year 2005. You're the coolest kid around, and you convince your parents to rent the greatest movie of all time from your local Blockbuster. But the movie starts with a strange message. Something about not downloading a car.
Oh my god. Oh my god. I so want to talk about piracy in Australia, but this is the ad from the Australian piracy video that before you play, it was you wouldn't download a car, you wouldn't steal a car, you wouldn't steal a movie, so you wouldn't download a movie or download a car. And the ironic thing to that was that the music that they used, they pirated it, and it was hilarious when I found that out. But yeah, story for another time.
You immediately disregard that and hop on Kazaa to download the greatest song of all time, and in the process, drain your dad's bank account with copious amounts of ransomware. You were breaking the law, you bad boy or girl, but did anyone come to arrest you? No. That's my point. If no one's enforcing a law, while everyone's breaking it, is it really a law? And so
Yeah.
it was with Prohibition. See, the conservative-led governments of the decade were also the kind of people who believed in small government spending. So they passed a law that would be extremely difficult to enforce, but also didn't want to spend any of the money required to enforce it. The newly created Bureau of Prohibition only had 1,500 agents to cover the entire country. That's one agent for every 70,666 Americans. In a massive country with 12,000 miles of coastline and one gigantic land border with Canada. Good luck, schmuckos. And all these clever little loopholes people were using to score illegal booze were only just the beginning. America was about to devolve into alcohol-fueled criminal chaos.
Let us begin.
By outlawing it,
Did you see that transition? Yeah, another ad. Actually, the ad was pretty good. But anyway.
Prohibition had made alcohol a precious commodity, and millions of Americans would become outlaws as they found a variety of ways to score illegal booze.
Come to think of it, there is a certain allure on just breaking the law and not getting caught.
For example, many Americans began making their own liquor. Illegal stills from making moonshine were found by Prohibition agents from the hills of Kentucky and the caves of Arizona to parking lots in major cities, and even in the homes of Prohibition-supporting politicians. Oh, come on now, fellas. I voted for Prohibition. I'm not gonna have an illegal still. What's this? That's my son, Freddie. Say hi, Freddie. Sir, this is obviously an illegal still. How dare you? Hey, what's this in the bathtub? That's bath water. Why does it taste like alcohol? Here's a better question. Why are you tasting my bathwater, weirdo? Come on, Freddy. Let's get away from these perverts. To discourage moonshining, the government began adding extra toxins to many of the products moonshiners were using, which resulted in many cases of severe illness and death. But alcohol wasn't just being made at home. Along America's vast coastlines, rum runners smuggled alcohol into the country by sea.
Oh, the
A
rum
floating
runners.
supermarket
That's
known as
where we
Rum
got
Row
it.
extended along the east coast, just beyond America's maritime limit, and bootleggers frequently sailed out in small boats to pick up shipments of booze. These bootleggers could then be found selling their illegal products everywhere, even in the halls of Congress. Wow, Pop. One day, I want to work here. Well, son, if you work hard and never give up, one day even you could be a massive hypocrite. Even President Harding was known to serve his cabinet bootlegged whiskey, and some bootleggers were so successful, they became bazillionaires, such as Roy Olmsted, an ex-cop who became one of the biggest employers in the Seattle area from smuggling booze. Unfortunately, all of his whiskey came from Canada. Yuck! All of this criminality was being made possible by copious amounts of corruption. Across the country, armies of government officials were persuaded to turn a blind eye. Bootleggers became so rich, it was no problem to stuff a couple $1,000s into the front pocket of the police chief, or the mayor, or their disapproving mother. And some cops were getting almost as rich as the bootleggers. Alright men, everyone gather in. I've received word that one of you has been taking bribes from bootleggers. Any ideas who? Kevin, perhaps. Got any thoughts? No, sir. Many police officers came from the same communities that drank a lot, and they weren't about to arrest their own granddads for knocking back some homemade gin. But all this isn't to say there was no enforcement. Plenty of government officials were doing their best to enforce the new laws, and some unlucky individuals received very harsh penalties, such as a Michigan mother who was sentenced to life in prison for small-scale moonshining. Cases like these were widely reported in the media, and only served to make Prohibition even more unpopular. But not just that, the media also loved to cover the exploits of the most famous bootleggers, turning them into national icons. One of the biggest bootleggers was a man named George Remus.
Oh.
Originally a lawyer, he watched as his bootlegger clients
I was thinking of... Damn it.
paid off enormous fines like it was nothing, and proclaimed bootlegging's the business for me. But unlike most bootleggers, Remus had big brain, and he came up with a pretty clever system. See, there were millions of gallons of liquor produced before Prohibition that were sitting in distillery warehouses, and it could only be sold with government permission to drug companies. So Remus set up his own drug company and bought all the liquor. Then he set up his own transport company to transport the liquor. And then he would send his own men out with guns to intercept his own transport vehicles. And this would happen. Hey man, this is a stick-up. Oh no, please don't hurt me. I won't hesitate to shoot. Please, I have a wife and kids. Hand over all the whiskey, Fatty. Hey! Fatty isn't in the script, you jerk! After stealing all the whiskey from himself, he could then sell it for big bucks. The perfect crime. Unfortunately, Remus was eventually caught by a goody two-shoes Prohibition director in Indiana who wouldn't take Remus's bribes, and the government found Remus guilty of violating the Volstead Act 3,000 times. For 2 years as Remus sat in prison, his wife promised to take care of all of his money. And by take care of his money, she meant have an affair with a Prohibition agent, sell off everything Remus owned, and file for divorce. When Remus finally got out and found his big fancy mansion empty with his wife gone, he reportedly broke down in tears. A few months later, during their divorce trial, he spotted his wife in a car in Cincinnati. Remus hopped in a cab and asked the driver to run her off the road. The driver was like, okay. Remus got out of the cab and shot his wife dead. He immediately handed himself into the police, and his next trial, this time for murder, became a national sensation. Remus defended himself, claiming insanity, occasionally carrying out skillful questioning, occasionally crying in the corner. But the nation felt bad for him. His wife had screwed him over, and so when after just 19 minutes of deliberation, the jury returned and declared him not guilty, the court erupted into celebration.
Really?
And just to remind you, this guy bluntly admitted to murdering his wife. The American justice system.
Wow. Is there a movie about this guy? I so
No.
want to find a
As
movie
alcohol
about
poured
this
into the
guy.
nation, a lot of it was going to a new type of drinking establishment that had been booming in popularity. A
Speakeasies?
secret drinking establishment. So secret that from the outside they often look like ordinary shops or homes. So secret that you usually needed a password to get in.
Password
So
1, 2,
secret
3.
that everybody knew about them. Speakeasies. And once you were in, the party went all night long. Scantily clad flappers, snake ladies, jazz. It was a roaring time to be alive. Some publications even posted reviews of these illegal clubs, and bribes galore kept the party going. It seemed like half the police officers and federal agents in cities like New York were receiving kickbacks from speakeasy owners. Hey! What the Kevin Costner is going on here? Officer O'Hannity, taking bribes? Why am I not surprised? Prohibition Director Simmons? For shame. Mom? What would Dad say? Ask him yourself. Dad would say, quit being such a wet blanket and let Daddy earn his tips. Anytime a speakeasy
God.
was shut down by authorities, it seemed like 3 more would just pop up elsewhere, and some neighborhoods
Wow, piracy in a nutshell.
were so full of them that one resident began hanging a sign to try to keep partygoers from constantly knocking on her door. It really seemed like the new laws regarding alcohol, in some places, were simply being ignored. And one Prohibition agent who traveled the country liked to see which city was the most defiant by timing how long it took for him to be offered a beer after he arrived. His winner? New Orleans, where a cab driver offered him a drink after just 35 seconds.
Wow.
Bravo. Many voices in Congress were already speaking out against Prohibition and its failures. To display how ridiculous the whole thing was, one Republican congressman gathered the media to all come and watch him drink a homemade beer. When he asked a passing police officer if he'd like to arrest him, the officer said no. Hey Wayne, is all this what you had in mind? I thought we were going to make the
Oh,
country
that is
better, but it almost seems
awesome.
like it's worse. What do you mean? Alcohol consumption is down. Well, that may be true in your small town world, but it says here drinking in some areas is up, as are arrests for public intoxication, drunk driving, and incidents of liver cirrhosis. The general chaos has turned America into a nation of criminals with no respect for the law, and all these attempts at enforcement are just costing the economy valuable money and eating up judicial time and resources. Release the lines. The social change and corruption that Wheeler and the Anti-Saloon League had been so eager to prevent, in the cities at least, was surging. See, when something's legal, you can usually regulate and control it. But make that thing illegal, and often anything, becomes fair game. Legal drinking age, gone. Mandatory
Yep.
closing hours for clubs and bars, gone. Other unspoken sociocultural rules surround
Women shouldn't get drunk, women shouldn't drink together, people shouldn't pee in their neighbor's mailbox while singing Danny Boy. Oddly specific.
alcohol. Gone, gone, gone. In speakeasies, different genders and ethnicities were beginning to mingle in a way they hadn't done before. The Roaring Twenties saw a monumental shift in culture. Not least of all, because now men and women could flirt in public without being damned for eternity. An outraged Wayne
Wow.
Wheeler did his best to make sure that anyone breaking
I guess there was a few positives to it.
the law was punished. He had even stricter legislation put in place in New York. But all this did was clog up the justice system with petty drinking violations, and judges began letting everyone off with light fines, so the judges could get back to dealing with things that actually mattered. You know, things like murder. And there was plenty of murder. Because
Damn.
that actually mattered. You know, things like murder. And there was plenty of murder. Because bootleggers and moonshiners were one thing, but Prohibition had given another kind of criminal an opportunity to make a fortune. Mobsters and gangsters. Hey Fat Tony, big news. Hey Fat Joey, what's up? I just got word from Fat Louie here that the government's outlawing alcohol. You know what that means. That means we're gonna be rich. Quick, call Fat Polly and let's go hijack a liquor truck now. All right. Hang on, let me tell my wife first. Hey, Fat Susan! No pizza for Fat Joey tonight, capiche? Stop calling me Fat Susan! Forget about it! Rival gangs began to battle in America's cities, raiding each other's transports, assassinating rivals, and trying to take control of their city's illicit booze trade. Every city had its top dog. Detroit had the Purple Gang. New England had Charles King Solomon. But no city was as infamous for gang violence and murder as Chicago. The city had multiple gang factions, and at first, they agreed to stay in their own neighborhoods. But the thing about criminals...
Oh yeah, there was both the... Yeah, there was the Irish gangs, and then there was the mobster gang, there was the Italian gangs, the Irish gangs, then there were other... And then there was other races with their own gangs involving liquor. But yeah.
Is that they're criminals, and the agreements inevitably broke down. One day, the leader of the Italian Southside gang was walking along the street when this happened. And he was like, you know, I think I'm done with this, and left for New York, leaving his crime empire to his chief enforcer, none other than Al Capone. Having been knifed in the face in his younger years, Capone earned himself the name Scarface. Although interestingly, he hated that nickname and preferred to be called Snorky. Snorky was ruthless, just like any other gang leader in America. But what set him apart from others, the reason he's become synonymous with 1920s gang warfare, is this. Most other gang leaders would try to keep a low profile because, you know, they're killing and murdering and stuff. But Capone lived for the fame and kept an extremely
New York top 10 cutest rabbies. Drink beers and explodes.
high public profile, frequently speaking with the media about his exploits and presenting himself as a gracious host, providing Chicago with good times. No need to thank me, fellas. I just provide the city with a valuable commodity while doing away with the competition. You mean you murder people? Whoa, who said anything about murder? I just, you know, force my rivals underground. When you do the thing with the hands, it seems like you're talking about murder. Whoa, look at you with the brains. No, I just help people retire from life. So murder. Al Snorky Capone was somewhat of an enigma, brutal in how he dealt with enemies, but in front of the camera, he was all smiles. One day, he'd be ordering hit after hit. The next, he'd be signing autographs in Wrigley Field. One day, he'd be bludgeoning members of his own gang with a baseball bat for conspiring against him. The next, he'd be playing Santa at a nearby parochial school.
If there are photos of this, I gotta know. Oh my god, Santa's smoking. That sounds awesome.
And no murder could ever be traced back to him. Just like every other criminal, he stuffed the pockets of city officials with cold, hard cash. And any who did try to oppose him sometimes found themselves being thrown down the steps of City Hall in broad daylight. Problem solved. The public couldn't get enough of Capone. He quickly became a household name as people romanticized the gang life he lived. And this became a source of concern for the people at the very top. President Hoover? What is it now, Miles? I'm busy. Well, it's just that there's a lot of crime, sir. Crime? How long's that been happening? Well, since the dawn of man, sir. What? Would you like me to blame it on the Democrats again? No, Miles, I want you to blame it on squirrels. Yes, the Democrats! Now stop wasting my time. Since having a crime lord controlling public officials and winning the hearts of the people probably wasn't a good thing, Hoover personally ordered that something be done about this Capone fellow. But before he knew it...
Wait, is this J. Edgar Hoover, right? The same guy who... said that, the mafia didn't exist? Anyway.
President Hoover was also dealing with another major problem. You know him, you love him, woman. The Prohibition era had been going on for nearly a decade, and anyone with a brain could see that it really wasn't going very well. One person with a brain was Pauline Sabin, an extremely influential and rich woman who served on the Republican National Committee, fundraised for Republican presidents, and had a secret wine room in her giant mansion. She initially supported Prohibition, but was now disgusted at the chaos it had created, and she began a new women's movement, this time not for Prohibition, but against it. Being the extremely influential woman she was, her new organization gained nearly 1.5 million members within 2 years, 5 times that of the Women's Christian Temperance Union. She hated that the WCTU claimed to speak for all women, and she began calling for the repeal of the 18th Amendment. President Hoover, I helped fund your campaign, and now I want you to end Prohibition. Miles, what is it I say when I'm not going to do anything? You'll look into it, sir. Oh yeah, that's right. Pauline? I'll look into it. Sabin gave speeches on the steps of Congress and helped start a growing push among the American people against Prohibition. But Hoover, a prohibitionist himself, wasn't budging. Then, on the 14th of February 1929, something happened that shocked the nation. Men, thought to be working for Al Capone, tricked some Irish mobsters into meeting them at a garage in Chicago, thinking they were there to purchase hijacked whiskey. Instead, the mobsters were lined up against the wall by men dressed as police, and they were shot. The Valentine's Day Massacre had people outraged. It was cruel and almost felt like American mobsters had finally crossed a line. People were sick of the violence, and in part, they blamed Prohibition for helping to create it. The pressure on Hoover to do something was steadily increasing. Fine. Miles, I want you to put a report together to see if this whole thing is working. You mean the thing where mobsters are becoming increasingly powerful and massacring each other in the streets and everyone is disregarding the law and half our public officials are corrupt and taking bribes? That thing? Yeah, I want to know if it's working or not, Miles. Stop wasting my time! Hoover continued to drag his feet on Prohibition, but after the Valentine's Day Massacre, he was still determined to do one thing. He wanted Al Capone in prison. Since Capone had been so careful, the FBI were having a hard time charging him with anything. But eventually, they got him. Capone, we know you're supplying Chicago with alcohol and you've been involved in countless murders. Whoa, look at you with the crazy talk. I ain't done none of that stuff. But you're rich, right? You're damn right I am. And so where'd all the money come from, Capone? Alright, I'll let you in on a little secret, but you gotta promise not to tell anyone, okay? I don't pay my taxes. Whoa! What was murdering? The IRS finally got Capone on tax evasion. At his trial, he didn't seem too concerned though, and spent most of his time having a laugh with his lawyers. Hey Capone, I gotta know, why are you so confident you're gonna win here? Well, Your Honor, because I'm an honest man with a big heart who's passionate about working for the good of the people. And also because I threatened the entire jury's families. Luckily, at the last minute, the judge replaced the entire jury pool with a new one that Capone's men hadn't yet got to, and Capone was found guilty. He was sentenced to 11 years in federal prison, the harshest penalty ever given to a tax evader. But even with Capone locked away, the violence in Chicago and other cities continued.
Yeah.
And in response, the movement against Prohibition continued to grow.
Yeah, there's a movie, I think I've already said this in the reaction, that there's a movie about Nitty who took over Capone, and yeah, if you saw The Untouchables, Nitty didn't die like that. Didn't die, what? He fell off a building and into the car. No, he took over and he died of suicide, and then died of suicide in the 40s. But anyway.
And the final nail in Prohibition's coffin came in 1929. After a decade of booming economic growth under 3 Republican presidents, the stock market plummeted, and America was thrown into the grips of the Great Depression. It was an awful time. 1 out of every 5 workers, 15 million people, would lose their jobs. Half the nation's banks failed. Temporary shantytowns were built for the broken homeless in public parks. Suddenly, very few people had time to care about Prohibition. Expensive enforcement of an unenforceable law didn't seem like that big of a priority when people were having their homes repossessed and losing their life savings. And many began to argue that repealing Prohibition would create vital jobs and tax revenue for the government. Yet President Hoover doubled down. Here's that report you asked for, sir. Gimme. Prohibition is great. Fantastic news. Sir, it says here Prohibition is great at undermining the rule of law in America. Miles, it says the word great. That means good. Now stop wasting my time! The public, increasingly shocked at the violence they saw in the streets, the corruption they saw in the government, the general disregard for the law, and now an economic calamity, had enough. For his re-election, Hoover faced a Democratic candidate who promised to finally do something about Prohibition, Franklin D. Roosevelt. Crowds cheered as FDR made his campaign speeches promising to modify the Volstead Act, and Pauline Sabin, a lifelong Republican, along with her 1.5 million supporters, endorsed Roosevelt. And on Election Day, it was a landslide. Before FDR had even taken office, Republicans in Congress began the process of passing the 21st Amendment to repeal Prohibition. One of FDR's first acts as president was to pass the Beer Permit Act, which made beer legal while the new amendment was being ratified. In 1933, with the passage of the 21st Amendment, Prohibition was finally over, and the people celebrated like they'd just won a world war. Bars and taverns were packed. The WCTU were inconsolable. Wayne Wheeler was dead, and the celebration, particularly in America's cities, was intense. Heading into the mid-1930s, the effects of Prohibition were clear to see. From now on, culture around drinking had changed, with men and women drinking together, not in saloons, but in bars and taverns. The crime syndicates that had been given so much power through Prohibition remained powerful as they moved on to other things.
Yeah. Also, there was one case that some still did some boo trafficking, but they were most likely illegal booze that dodged the liquor tax. It was stuff that you couldn't get anywhere else. There's more high quality booze, but anyway, they moved on to, well, this is just the modern take, but that's other gangsters. But then a whole lot of legitimate businesses to be used as fronts for a bunch of stuff. But yeah, Prohibition did a lot of bad, but some good. That when Prohibition was repealed, things changed.
Some states opted to remain dry, with Oklahoma only repealing its prohibition laws in 1959. To this day, there are still counties in America with some form of prohibition. So what did we learn today, kids? What's the big lesson here? What's the moral of this story that we can all take away and apply to our day-to-day lives? Maybe that you shouldn't force your own morals on others who don't share them? Maybe that if you tell Americans not to do something, that's the one thing they'll definitely do. Or maybe there is no lesson. Maybe we're all just a bunch of dumb, stinky idiots, and we're all doomed. The end.
Well, okay. And that was a good video. And jeez, I'm looking at the recording and it's over an hour. Jeez. But man, I just can't. I'm just still collecting my thoughts on it. But damn. So the lesson is don't tell what Americans can and can't do, because they'll just do it anyway. So we should use reverse psychology. But anyway, that's it for the video. I hope you all have a very Merry Christmas, and thank you for watching to the end of the video. Please like and subscribe, it brings a smile to my face. And I'm gonna get some water. So yeah, bye.